Oh, yes. Man, oh man, it is going to be a wet one. It is going to be it is some weird, wild stuff out there, I must tell you. Weird, wild stuff. We have some stuff coming up that looks like it is just, I cannot believe we have a mix of hellscape, awesomeness, diarrhea, goodness. I mean, there is a weird mix of the news today. Everything from Moroccan or migrants storming in Morocco to Trump helping truckers out to the Saudi Arabians possibly invading Yemen, Israel possibly working with the United States to disarm Hamas. What's up, Ziggy? How you doing? So we have got a really big show today when it comes to the news because, my God, every hour on the hour, something that's just startling. What's up, America? How you doing? So one of the bigger stories we should probably talk about is what's happening in Morocco, as some people are equating. What's up, America? Some people are equating to what they're seeing in Morocco as a, quote, zombie apocalypse. What's up, Scott? As tens of thousands of migrants from North Africa have tried to breach the Spanish city of Ceuta, which is, of course, in North Africa, and they've asked Spain to declare a national emergency. It's all military-age men. Spain has been asked to declare a national emergency and send the military in as assistance to try to fend off the migrants that are coming in. More than likely, knowing that it's Spain, they'll use the military to bring all the military-age men that are coming over from Algeria, Morocco, all over Hell's Half Acre to storm into Europe to probably, in my opinion, posture for something. So, officials in the Spanish territory of Ceuta on the northwestern tip of Africa on Tuesday said the government in Madrid was asked to declare a national emergency and send the army to secure the people. What's up, Marine? How you doing? Did you hear about the trucker thing? That's fantastic. The call came as video footage showed crowds of people trying to walk around a breakwater separating Morocco from Spanish territory or otherwise scale the border fence. Spanish Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez. No, Pedro Sanchez, like fucking Napoleon Dynamite, vote for Pedro? Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, hell yeah, Marine. That is too funny. I mean, I knew, but just reading that, that's hilarious. God, why don't you send the migrants back? God. Anyway, pledged an immediate response. Spain's interior minister said on Thursday that its armed forces would send personnel to Ceuta to support the border guards. Probably need a fucking double-barrel machine gun if you can actually help it. So what we're seeing right now is the live situation. So before this stupid notion, the Spanish government gave 250,000 men, mostly, amnesty, which basically grants them partial or, depending on what it is, full citizenship into Spain. Those people did nothing but breach the borders of Spain, and now they're a citizen. So now we have all these people coming up. Spain is the soft underbelly for the migrant invasion. Now, why are so many military-age men, maybe it was 500,000, why are so many military-age men coming into Southern Europe? Why is there no women? Why are there no children? Because in my opinion, they're posturing for a destruction of former sites of Christendom. Burning churches, taking over, what do they call it? Not the Schlieffen Plan. It's the one where they overwhelm the services so they can control the government. I can't remember my plans right now. Cloward Piven. And so this, oh my God, that's true. I know, holy shit. That is strong. Oh, man. Sorry, I didn't have time to it. This is the Cherokee flag. And so, in my opinion, Spain is an active cloud pivot going on here in the United States. Once Donald Trump leaves office, the Democrats will make sure this will happen here in the United States exactly like we're seeing. It's still unknown to me, out of all the research I've done with all this. What's up, Dana? After all the research I've done with this, it's still unknown to me as to why the elites and leaders of this world have decided to bring throngs of people into their nations illegally. I don't get it. It doesn't, I mean, unless you're committing self-national harm and trying to destroy, unless you're trying to destroy your history and yourself, then I don't know what the point of it is, because you gain nothing from millions of migrants coming over illegally. You don't gain any fucking momentum in manufacturing. You don't gain pilots out of it. You don't gain doctors out of it. You gain a large abusive welfare state. That's true too, human trafficking. But all that this is a paid for by tax dollars welfare state coming in droves into the United States. And if you're against it, the narrative is that you're a racist. That's how it is. So if you're against 500,000, a million, 10 million, 100 million illegal aliens coming into your nation, you're a racist, so they say. But it belies the fact of who's going to pay for this. Where's the money and resources coming from? Am I going to have to pay for it? And of course the answer is yes, you the citizens are paying for this. And you say, well, I don't want to. Oh, well, you owe it because their skin color is darker than yours. Racist fuck. That's what these governments tell you, even America's. These poor migrants who couldn't get their third world shithole operating properly have to leave it to come here. The funny thing is if a lot of Europeans or Americans went to their nation, we would uplift and build it, and it would be a better place. But they would call that colonialism. So migrants coming to our nation and by the millions, that's not colonialism at all. That's giving it what for to the white man, right? But then Americans go down into their countries to live, and all of a sudden that's colonialism because of the past. Who gives a shit, Peter? What do I have to do with that? Why do I have to pay for what America does? Why do we, the citizenry, have to pay with this? Why do we have to say, okay, well, America was bad with Israel, or we attacked this nation or that nation? So why do I have to pay more in taxes so a bunch of illegals can get fed and clothed and housed? Why is that my responsibility? Why can't their So basically what we're saying here is that, oh, you know me so well. How do I know you? I don't know you from fucking Adam, so how do you know me? Anyway, so the thing is, these people come over illegally by the tens of millions. Then your taxpayer dollars, what's up, Jennifer, have to pay for these people. And if you bitch about it, they call you a racist and try to destroy you. Why can't we just logically look at this and say, I don't care if it's America, China, Germany, Fiddler Crab Empire. If you bring in millions of people that do not contribute to your society, then your citizenry is going to obviously have to pay for it. Otherwise, they will starve. Now, if you're okay with them starving to death, that's fine. Whatever. You came over here. And that's another thing. It's totally the dishwasher's fault. See, this is the thing. You're already in the loop of this. The elite brought these people over so they could create a new slave class. And you're already calling them, oh, it's the dishwasher's fault. You're basically an enabler to this slave bullshit that they're trying. I'm going to give you an analogy for a minute. If you would stop talking shit for a minute and just listen. I'm going to give you an analogy. If you've ever seen the movie A Bronx Tale, where all the bikers go into the bar and the owner allows them, the mafia member allows them to come in. I'm not a bigot. You're a fucking idiot. Shut your mouth and listen to me for a second, you fuck. Yeah, fuck you, idiot. Yeah, you call names, you're gone. Fuck you. You call names, you're gone. Goodbye. Yeah, you could have an opinion. You start talking shit to me, you're blocked. Eat shit. So here it is. In the movie A Bronx Tale, right? The bikers come in and he allows them to come in and drink. Then the bikers start destroying the bar. So he comes in and locks the door and says, now you can't leave. Now you can't leave. Do you understand? Pizza, of course. So what that means is it's an analogy for what's going on with the migrants that are coming into America, Canada, Australia, Western Europe. All these millions of people are being brought into these nations, these Western nations seeking a better life. They all come in here, and when they come in here, they can't leave. So do you understand how this works? You come from your shithole country, not shithole, your government meaning. I'm not saying your country's a shithole. I'm saying your government caused it to be a fucking mess. So you leave whatever problem place you left. You come here to America or wherever it is, which is not inherently a problem if you do it legally. But then when you bring all these people over, what do you think? Why do you think the elite and the rich are allowing you to come in? Why? Any other government, if you tried to come to a nation illegally, if you tried to break into China illegally, you'd be thrown in a prison, kicked out immediately. If you try, oh God, McDonald's now. If you tried to go to Singapore illegally, you'd be arrested, thrown out of the nation immediately, right? You go to Pakistan illegally, thrown out immediately. Fuck you, get out, right? That's how every nation would be. But then somehow the United States, all of Western Europe, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, come on in, bring as many as possible. Well, why such a contrast with the rest of the world? Burger King is the shit, though. Why such a contrast? Why is it the rest of the world will kick you out on your ass, not care if you starve to death, and will never give you a dime of food? Judas Priest every time. But the United States and and Western countries will just bring you in. Come on in. Come on in. Doesn't that seem a little snake-like to you? Don't you believe that there might be a little something nefarious as to why you're being brought in here? I mean, really? Nobody gives nothing for nothing. All right? These elites that are in charge, these billionaires, these super rich families, they're not giving you access to these nations for free. Do you understand that? When you come over illegally into Spain or Italy or the United States or Canada, you believe that you're here, that you're entitled to it. Indica. You believe you're entitled to it, that you're from here and you're a poor refugee. You deserve money or food or da-da-da. And for a time, these nations do that for you. What's up, America? What's up, Solar Flare? For a time, these nations do that to you. But then what happens? You get settled into Germany, Italy, Spain, France, England, the United States, Canada, Australia. And you say, well, I don't want to be here anymore. It's turning weird. It's not to your liking. The people are racist, bigots, gender, blah, blah, blah. And you want to go back to your nation. You want to send money back to your family, whatever it is. Fuck you. There's no such thing as stolen land, idiot. It's conquered land. Eat shit. And that is the Cherokee. So, what they do is you're here for a while. And then when you're here, they lock the door on you. And the governments of this world, the Western governments, will tell all of you migrants, all of you illegals, this, that, and the other, now yous can't leave. No. Now yous can't leave. And you say, well, what does that mean? It means that they got you into the Western nations where the value of their dollar is crippled and they need a group of people to work for nearly slave wages to keep the government and economy going. Because the people, the boomers, are too old and retiring, and there's not enough Gen X, millennials, and Gen Z to make up the difference. So when the boomers retire, you migrants are going to be stuck doing menial tasks for wampum that'll barely afford your life. That will barely afford your life. And you thought that this was, oh, it's just them being tolerant. Oh, yes, as if Democrats in the past, liberals or even Republicans, have ever been tolerant in the past. Are you out of your mind? The liberals are just as racist as conservatives. They're not doing this bull crap to be tolerant of you. They're not doing this to roll back on racism. They're doing this because a lot of boomers and older white people will be retiring, and they in their positions are being replaced with your asses for almost no pay or benefits. Thank you, Jennifer. What's up, Allie? That is my opinion, is that they're bringing in throngs of migrants, and they will replace all the boomers and the white people doing menial tasks. What do you mean menial tasks? Retail, servers. You will be doing any fucking thing that nets tax base but doesn't give you benefits of any kind. So you will not be getting health care. Well, it's Republicans, that's true. You will not be getting health care of any great kind that you believe. You think, oh, it'll be free health care. It'll be south side of somewhere in Bulgaria if you're lucky in the next 20 years, all right? That's what you're going to be getting. You're going to be getting no pensions. You'll be getting no 401ks. You will be getting 2 weeks off a year. You will not be getting maternity leave. So I know what you're thinking. Oh, I'll have 7 kids. What about the Leering centers? That's why they elect people like Trump from time to time, so that they can close the door for you. So that they can, the newest left is not like I remember it. Like I'm privy to like Bill Maher Democrats, right? Bill Maher style Democrats, Jon Stewart style Democrats. Hey, I didn't say I was native. I have a flag collection. I bought this flag in Cherokee, North Carolina. I'm representing their fucking culture. You should embrace it too, unless you're a racist. Maybe that's what it is.
Sorry, I was already in the process of blocking him.
No. Yeah, I'm not a liberal, but I'm also not a Republican. So this being the case, you have to understand that the boomers will be retiring. The younger generation simply doesn't want to do it. You will do these jobs for us. Because if not, it means going and trying it in your country. And you won't be able to leave America once you're here working. It will cost too much to return permanently. You're not going to go back every year like you thought when you left. I'll see you every year, Mom. You won't. The cost of transport will continue to go up. The cost of everything will continue to increase in America. The value of the dollar will continue to lower. Every time you gain $1,000 to fly down to Juarez to see your mom, it'll now cost you $1,200. You got $1,200, it'll look $1,500. 15, now you want 2. Because that's what they'll do to you. That's how they get you. That's how they have you in a cycle. And you see, so many Americans are already trying. Oh, I know, Allie, trust me. I need to, I'm coming here. I like YouTube more. I can speak freer, but it's getting there. But what happens is you now become, so these migrants, these refugees, immigrants, whatever it is, you now are brought, it's peak capitalism. Thank you. Thank you. So the immigrants coming from around the world, the migrants, this is peak capitalism. And they're using these people as what's called human capital. A lot of people don't know the terminology for the value of people in the labor force. It's called human capital. And so these migrants come over for a short time and they get a hotel. I mean, look how they were doing it. Stay at this nice hotel. We'll give you food. We'll give you a shelter. Give you a place to live. We'll get you a job. Oh, I bet you will, won't you? Where are you going to get me a job at? At one of America's wonderful fulfillment centers or warehouses. And we will use your ass like a fucking indentured servant for the next decade. By the time you can afford to get a hacienda for yourself, your grandparents and mother in Mexico will have been dead for half a decade. And guess what? That money you were going to send Selena down there, right? No, you're not sending that because they're banning that now. No, you're going to pay into the tax base. That's what you see with Trump. Trump is the lockstep for that. The liberals brought him in. Trump said no, but Trump's the only president that is kicking him out. Bush didn't kick him out. Come on in. But I mean, this has been going for years. This started back in the 90s. It's just ramped up to the point where all these people are saying, take me away from my third world dump stick of my corrupt government that turned it into this. Look at El Salvador for a second. Look at the previous owners of El Salvador and how cartel gangs, shithole everywhere. You get this new dictator that took over, and what do you get? Oh, thank you, Allie. Oh, shit. Thank you, Allie. Thank you, my friend. I've never seen that. So you get this new dictator that's taken over El Salvador. He rules with an iron fist, right? He gets rid of all the cartel members, puts them in a federal pound-me-in-the-ass prison, right? For the next 50 years. That was awesome. I love it. Thank you, Allie. So within 3 years, a country that was completely wrecked was turned into a place that I would visit tomorrow with my family. 10 years ago, if you told me, would you go to San Salvador with your family, I would tell you to eat shit. No, that's a dangerous move. Now, I would take my wife and kids. Thank you, Cohen. I would take my wife and kids to El Salvador. Thank you, my friend. I would walk around the plazas with them. I wouldn't fear cartel violence of any kind whatsoever. Any of these nations where these people are coming from can turn around in a year, just like that. Look at Ecuador, one of the most peaceful South American nations, turned into a cartel fucking shit stick in about 18 months, to the point where now failed policing is leading to a lot of civil rights violations. So any of these countries in the world can change immediately. So what does that mean? So you remember how I told you that all the people in those countries were coming up here and now they're stuck in America as just a moving slave labor force? Guess what our countries are doing? They're buying investments and property in those nations. Those nations, bitch! Look no further than Jared Kushner and his family trying to get a resort in Albania. You know about that story. But they're doing that shit all over the world. So the countries are bleeding their working men into the Western nations as slave labor for the Western nations. Free range slavery. You still have money, you get to choose, but you're being taxed. And our American investors and Western investors and Chinese investors are buying up your fucking third world countries. And guess what they're going to do with them? They're going to turn them into our countries, financially speaking. Look at what's happening with Gaza right now. They're bulldozing the nation over. They're going to turn it into a resort. A long-term refugee camp is now being turned into Trumpistan. And the resort with Kushner. Well, why is that important? Because that gives Israel living room. Where are they going to go? West Bank? They don't care. Fuck them. That's where it is. And that's what they say. And they'll use them as slave labor forces. They become refugees for the Western world. So the same Western governments that come for your nations are also taking your people as human capital, using them as a slave labor force so our aging population will have it easier. And then we're buying your countries up and turning them into us. You see how that works? You see how that works? And you say, my God, doesn't it all make sense now? Once you look at it from that aspect, doesn't that all make sense? The Chinese are involved too. There might be a big game between China and America on the surface. We're never going to war with each other. This is a game of financial provisioning of the world. China will take their piece. The United States will take their piece in the West. And the remains of Russia, etc., with the global South will occupy the rest. It'll be a tripolar world. Maybe a quadpolar world if you have an uprising or an upstart. Maybe India. Maybe they come about. Maybe Brazil's a wild card. I highly doubt it. But everything is basically pretty much where we're headed. A tripartite world takeover. Where the United States, Canada, Greenland, all that falls into our sphere of influence down to... What?
Thank you, Allie.
Oh, thank you, Allie. Thank you, my friend. Thank you for the Cash App. Thank you, my friend. You are awesome. So the United States will encompass, our territory will be Western Europe. That includes Poland and everything west of Belarus, right? Anything NATO, Canada, United States, all the way down to South America, excluding Brazil, right? Because they fall in a weird category. Most of the Pacific, Australia, New Zealand, Hawaii, Alaska, Japan, South Korea, Taiwan is a wild card. Doesn't mean America will fight for Taiwan. I'm glad you asked that question because no, not at all. That's not what that means at all. That does not mean the United States will fight for Taiwan. That means that they will gain our sympathy as China absolutely exhilarates, takes it over. So, then you'll have the Chinese world, which will be, of course, we also have Korea and the Philippines. China will have North Korea, Mongolia, which is a shared Russian plebiscite, all of Central Asia, all the way down to Vietnam, which claims that they're not Chinese or influenced, but they will be, even though they've been at a war. Japan's with us. Then you'll have Burma, Thailand, Myanmar, that is Burma, sorry, Malaysia, Indonesia, Singapore with leanings to China. The line will be between Australia, and that'll be Chinese influence. India and Brazil will be wild cards, where India will play between the West and China and Russian plebiscite. Brazil will do the same thing. Brazil and India will start leaning towards BRICS, right? That type, which that's fine. They're in a constant state of war. That's another thing. And the Chinese are deeply involved with this. And so the world will be placed into these categories. The Russians will have their territory. They also want, they exert some control over the stands. Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, Tajikistan, stuff like that. They still launch their spacecraft from Kazakhstan, for instance. If somebody invaded Tajikistan, Russia would be right there. So Russia's got a large territory. They're very big, but they're very immobile, if you want to call it that. But they stabilize a lot in the Arctic, which that's where a lot of issues are going to start between these major power players will be in the Arctic. So a lot of people think that there's you got the Ukraine war, you have the back and forth there, you have the Chinese expansion or attempted expansion, the American holding the line and falling back. But a lot of people forget that a bigger part of this conflict is going to start in the Arctic regions. And it's going to be with NATO versus Russian movements. The Chinese want to get involved too, but I could see Russia going a bit above and beyond when it comes to the Arctic, because they believe they exert control over more of the Arctic than almost anybody else because of their sheer size. And of course, the United States and Canada, we say Alaska for a reason, blah, 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 blah. But with all this combined in the world wars, you have like Iran. Well, what's Iran's future? The answer is Iran doesn't have a future in this geopolitical world that's being carved up. Iran simply doesn't have a future with this. Right? Iran is a mixed state. It's a pull apart. It doesn't matter who owns it. If Iran is taken over by American alliance or American leaners, if you want to call it that, they will basically exert control over the oil supply lines for China, which will hamper them greatly because China has one lacking thing, and that's major reserves of oil, much as like what you saw with Japan and their expansion in the Second World War. When it comes to the United States, they keep claiming they're energy independent, but that's because of the optics of it. We're really not. Third world nations are going to be pieced up between China, Russia, and Western expansion. Now, Western expansion won't go like you think because they'll call it colonialism. China doesn't give a fuck about colonialism. They'll do it all day. But China frames it in the guise of uplifting your nation by infrastructure and finance for loyalty to the Red Dragon. You see what I'm saying here? What's up, America? So if you say, well, like the Belt and Road Initiative that's going on all the way from Beijing to all the way into West Africa and the Maritime Silk Road, you're looking at China buying infrastructure and buying influence into third world nations that don't have the power to fight back against such an authority. You see what I'm saying? So you have Beijing, which has a 2 million man army with 1 million in reserve, plus almost as big of a force as the United States, which would threaten any nation in the world. China comes in and buys ports, railroads, airports, seaports, everything, bus lines, everything to uplift the infrastructure of Kenya, Mozambique, Ghana, specifically Western-leaning African nations. And they do it on purpose. And the reason they do that is because they buy access for their military to be able to be deployed, stationed, or use those locations as a jumping off point to threaten Western interests mainly. You see what I'm saying? So, for instance, you'll say, well, in the country of Mali, China will build a naval port there and a highway and a fucking, an airport. Chinese labor might come in. Sometimes they'll hire Africans if they're lucky. And that'll build on the infrastructure. For a short time, Mali, Nouakchott might be the vibe of the season. You've never seen anything like it. I have water. It's the weed. So then what happens with that? Well, let's say there's a geopolitical, I hope so, Stephen. So you say, well, there's a geopolitical upheaval in West Africa, for instance. You have 5,000 PLA soldiers, Chinese soldiers in Ghana, for instance. And you have 2 frigates, a destroyer, a missile ship, and the ability to deploy mechanized units. All right, and then the next nation over, Togo, decides to go into a civil war. Oh, well, hey, guess what? That's an opportunity to go put your soldiers in their nation as peacekeepers and occupy the government by influence, i.e., do what we say or we'll kill all of you. Oh, okay. And then all of a sudden they become Chinese influenced, and that spreads, and it's a way to spread It's a way to spread influence and dominance through proxy, in many cases without firing a shot. Now, this is nothing new. The United States and Western nations have done this for years. You still see this with nations that are very tied into their host nation with colonial powers like France. And you'll see like Algeria, Algeria, certain North African nations, certain West African nations, Cameroon, that are still very tied with France, even though they're independent nations. And that's kind of one of those controls. So China it would be exerting something similar, which would be an independent nation with semi-autonomous authority to grant China military and economic access. Yeah, exactly. Now, why did this happen? Because the colonial nations took everything and utilized their people as chattel. Okay? And so that's what they did. And they said, fuck you, you're beneath me. Okay? And so what I'm going to do is come in here, take all your shit. You're too primitive to understand or use it. And we'll shoot you if you fucking revolt. And that's what they did for a very long time. Until the colonial powers pussed out, didn't have enough money, and they gave up on it simply. And said, we're going to give you your nations back. And from the 50s, 60s, and 70s, they gave you your nations as independent, but they knew you couldn't stand on your own due to infighting. And so it was constant civil war throughout about a third to half of Africa. A lot of it's still going on. And what do these people do? They take advantage. Just like we did with Liberia, they take advantage. And the Chinese are doing exactly what we did. But the difference is the Chinese are not murdering people. We would look at the Belgium, for God's sakes. Hell yeah, Blaka. Me too. Look at Belgium. I went to grad school, but I got a degree in anthropology. But I went to grad school for nonprofit management. But you have these nations out here that it's a weird, they're too impoverished to grow. The third-party influences are too great for them to be independent when they are. So like Algeria is one of those African nations that's arising out of its fucking colonial bonds finally. And you say, what do you mean about that? They have, like with the forest fires or the fires in Algeria right now, they're getting help from European nations, but they're standing on their own. Their economy is starting to stand on their own. Well, that is a buffer. We've got more joints. That is that economic gain, that independence that Algeria is showing and Egypt has. That's a buffer to push away these third-party nations. But China, Russia, United States, Western, we don't like that because we want to exert control over your government, mostly for your resources for a cut dick rate. You see, so if you're going to sell teak wood, for instance, at $450 a yard or whatever it is, we want it for $100. Well, that'll bankrupt us. No, we'll bankroll you by taking you over and putting our fucking shit there with our workers, and you will barely make anything. So your workers from the native land, you'll be cutting down, you'll be doing the hard labor. You'll be doing the hard labor, cutting down the trees, putting them on your trucks, and you'll be bringing them to our mills, and we'll pay you dick for them. Yeah. And if you want to see something, here on YouTube, there's good documentaries called, it's called like Dangerous Roads Africa. I used to watch these documentaries all the time in Africa, or about Africa. And you would see that after the colonial powers left, nobody ever fixed the roads. So now it's the year 2026, and these people are driving with ginormous fucking logs that they use to make, tables that are $25,000 here in America for rich people. And they're driving with these logs that they've cut themselves on these trucks from the 1960s and 70s that are literally held together with aluminum foil and fucking wire. And oh my God. And they drive through ruts that are 6 and 8 feet deep with mud up to the top, and they break down constantly. The transport is these big trucks with people in Africa, and it'll be just an open truck with 65 people just spilling out of it, driving 8 to 9 hours, hanging onto the back of a truck, hopefully not to fall off and die. The railroads that do work were left during the colonial times. They have to machine their own product. They can't get the parts because the engines are so old. So they take the broken parts and add to it and machine it. And it's like, oh my God, dude. And so derailments are common. And I've seen like how they do it in Malawi, where they'll have like dudes on bikes with, literally a ton of goods. And they'll be driving down the side of a mountain hill on a bike with 1 ton of like coffee or bananas or whatever the fuck it is. If they fall off, it's instant death. And it's wet roads, and they're on a bike from 1976 with bad tires. I mean, this is like a fucking comedy show if it wasn't so tragic, right? But these nations, and the way it is because the Western government said, we're not helping you. Goodbye, you're independent, see ya. We're just walking out. Some nations had some help when we left. So like when the British and Nigeria, or England and Kenya started to split apart, the British still kept like banking. They still kept like grocery and shit like that. So they would still supply Kenya. So the British were more, for all the people that they shot, basically, they were pretty tame when it came to decolonialization, except with the India thing. That was the armored car that like shooting all those Sikhs. Yeah, that's a whole fucking Indian Civil War. That is insane, that whole thing. But that's what world history is, man. It's just a combination of that. But anyway, so what you're seeing now is how do I put this? All of these nations took a stance of decolonization and equality, but they know that the people don't buy it. So these people that come from the third world nations and the minority populations in America and the Western nations don't trust the government. They don't trust the rich people. Rich white motherfucker, eat shit, right? That's how it starts. But what they did is they said, no, everybody's racist but us, even though they're the only racist ones. And they bought the media and all this other shit, and they told you that there was a big divide between black and white people, straight and gay people, men and women. They told you there was these big divides and there was these fights, and they kept doing this propaganda. You see, there was really none of that actually existed. Racism was basically dead. We just didn't like Islam blowing up our cities. That's basically what it was. And it was sold to you as every white person is a racist, bigoted piece of shit, and every black person is a black supremacist that wants to kill white people. Now, why did they... Oh, I know about... Yeah, so why did they push that narrative that's two things overlapping? White people are racist bigots, but black people hate white people and want to kill them. Why would they put that? Because each one has its own narrative for their propaganda. So to the black people, they spread the propaganda that white people are the devil and hate you and want everything gone, even though most white people are half tempted to date black women constantly. Then you have the other side. Oh, all black people are out to get you. Well, they're actually not, but they push that propaganda. And why do they do it? Because then you buy into it and you're fighting each other. So when you meet each other on the streets, you initially repel from each other. They do that on purpose because if you actually put your money where your mouth was, you would go after not all the white people, the very rich ones at the top, and it's not just white people, there's interest. The 3,500 billionaires is what I'm getting at. The 3,500 billionaires. They don't want to die at your hands. And historically speaking, you would eventually arise up, take them into the guillotine or the hangman's noose. A red terror would sweep the nation, eventually settling into some communist coup state that would become corrupt as it always does. But they don't want that. They want feudalism still. And with China pushing their narrative, which, by the way, for the rest of the world, it's looking better and better, just so you know. The United States is, how do I put this? The United States has a lot to take. And the Republicans will sell out to give it to the world, and the Democrats just want to give it away because of naivety, possibly, or because of a belief that giving all you have and redistributing it removes racism somehow, even though it doesn't. So I'm not exactly sure what the left's position is for doing this. I know what the right's position is. Create a slave labor force so that you can make maximum gains of profit. Okay, that's very open, but I don't understand the left's position on this because they both do it. They both do it. So George W. Bush wasn't kicking out illegals, was he? No, of course not. What about Obama? Nope, brought him over. Okay, what about Bill Clinton? Well, no, not really. So everybody seems to just let him stay. Well, why is that? Because this is a long-term Cloward pivot. That's what it's supposed to be. That's how it was generated. And the reason is it also gives you more control over other nations because now you have a lot of their population. So if you have, I know I can't, Jennifer. So if you have 1 million people from Honduras, that's a large portion of their population. If you have control over that many people and you just use them as a bargaining chip for negotiating, say, well, we could just send them back and maybe a bunch of them die. What would you think of that? Maybe we'll just round them up and kill half of them on the way back. We'll make it look like a humanitarian crisis. And you're like, oh, well, now you can start maybe bartering for cheaper prices on barley or whatever the fuck it is. Well, they wouldn't do that. Yeah, they would. That's how it works. That's how this shit works. Are you kidding me? That's how it works. That's how this works. Bartering for human capital, which is people. That's a big part of negotiation now throughout the world. People don't want to talk about it because it makes you sound like a psychotic monster. But that's what the world is. The world is a psychotic monster. Truth is stranger than fiction, my friends. Wait, yes, that's the correct way. And if you don't believe that, well, I'll tell you what, how many times have they sprayed over a city? But they're not going to deport. Trump will deport what he's allowed to. And then the liberals that take over will bring them over again like it never stopped. So first of all, you're already having a decoupling of Donald Trump. You don't know what that's going to be coming up. I'll tell you what it's going to be, and it's not going to be pretty. So the liberals are going to win the midterm elections by 4 to 7 points. I know people that say much higher than that. It's going to be about 4 to 7 points. More than likely closer to 7 points. Mainly because of the right wing's inability to lower prices. Now, was that the fault of companies working against Trump on purpose? Was that the fault of the economic system taking a dive on whatever it is? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Nobody likes, how do I put this kindly? Nobody really likes Democrats anymore. But they can't stand Republicans. Do you understand what I'm saying? So, you have people that look at the Republicans and you say, this piece of shit lied to me. I didn't get any stimulus check. There was no Doge that was effective for long term. The no tax on tips was just a write-off. It didn't really help. Where's the lower prices? Where's the cheaper gas? Free Iran. I know we're 5 months into it. But where are we ramping up for this? Etc., etc., etc. Okay, wonderful. But then you look at the liberals and you say, well, what do you have to offer? Well, no Trump. Stop Trump. I didn't ask I didn't ask about Trump. I asked what you're offering. Well, Trump, fuck MAGA. I didn't ask your stupid talking points. I asked you what your policy was. We're going to get Trump's name off the Kennedy Center. We're going to impeach, sue Trump. That doesn't do anything, idiot. Your hatred of Trump does not lower prices, stupid. It doesn't do anything. It doesn't get food on the table for poor people. All as it does is make a talking point you don't like Trump. Great, we know that. I don't need to hear 4 more years of that. I've heard 8 years of your dick sucker flapping, and it didn't do anything. So you didn't fix anything with your shit talking. All you did was shoot Charlie Kirk and try to fucking cancel a bunch of people. That didn't move the needle. We still have homeless veterans. We still have poor people. Price of food is double. Price of house is double. And all you want to do is talk shit about Trump. Great. That's wonderful. Great. Fuck Trump. Great. How does that put food on poor people's plates? It doesn't. It just makes you look like you're running down a swirling bathtub drain. Trump, Trump, Trump. So 5 years after Trump is gone, are you going to keep talking shit? Because how does that help America? Well, if it hadn't been for Trump 4 years ago, that's just bullshit. I do not have bad breath. What you need to do, my friend, is you need to give a fuck. So instead of just resisting everything Trump did, you could have worked with him to change the plans. But you didn't. So all you resist Trump. Okay, well, maybe the big, beautiful bill wouldn't have been such a pile of shit. Now you're going to have CBD illegal. Good job, dumbass. Because, we resisted. You resisted into a $30 billion CBD market going to be illegal coming up at the end of the year. Good job. All you had to do was do any fucking thing. Anything. And all you had to do was say, Trump, we need the CBD because people have seizures. Oh, okay. Well, then you have to relent on this. Oh, okay. Great. And that's it. That's all you had to do. It would have been better one way, maybe better the other. But you resisted into stupidity. Now look at this. Well, that was the Republicans. No, it was partially you, dumbass. The Republicans just instigated it. You could have changed the course, but you didn't because you were too proud to do anything else. Just like Satan. Your pride got you dipshittery. Now, here in the United States, we're going to have that. And what are you going to do? Sue Trump until it goes away? Once he's out of office, you're going to rescind everything, so now we can't have high-flow toilets anymore? Really? So Trump signs an executive order, we're going to have high-flow showers for the first time since 1998. And now what are you going to do? We're going to rescind that. Oh, because that was so good, wasn't it? Like, sometimes breaking everything, sometimes painting the entire thing with a single brush doesn't work. You need to be smarter than that. Maybe there's a Republican out there that'll work with you. Maybe you could change Trump's mind if you're not an asshole. But you won't do that. Now, what about the Republicans? They don't give a shit about anybody but the rich billionaires. Fuck everybody else to them. But it wouldn't be so bad if you stupid asses would have fucking come in. But you make a press conference, Trump this, Trump that. You sound like Dr. Fauci with the Fifth Amendment. Why don't you propose a plan? I haven't heard a Democrat propose shit. So what are you doing? I'm waiting. All as I've heard Democrats do is flap their gums talking shit. You're stupid. You're an idiot. Blah, blah. Wonderful. What's your proposal, asswipe? What you do? I'm not a commie, moron. Jesus fucking Christ. So what's your proposal, Democrat? Fuck Trump. Well, then you're an idiot. Well, what's your proposal, Republicans? Trickle-down economics. Well, then you're an idiot. All right? So what do you want from me? You want me to sit there and tell you that, oh, the Democrats are really going to fix it? Mr. Fix-It's coming in. His name's Chuck Schumer. Yeah, we're going to get more of that blowhard. Are you kidding me? Why don't you just put Mitch McConnell's corpse up there as well? I plead the fifth. 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's right. And so why don't you just put, if you're going to have Mitch McConnell still out there scooting his shitty pants, why you're going to have Mitch McConnell up there too? You know, like, why do you want these old diarrhea that are garbage humans stealing from every single thing? What color's your tie? What color's the carpet in front of you? And I plead the Fifth Amendment. Look, Dr. Fauci, in my opinion, is a fucking self-serving creep. And I know you go on Twitter, he's a hero. Oh, shut the fuck up. No, he's not. And January 6th was not a big, giant deal either. And I'm sick of pretending it was, right? Well, January 6th. The only reason the politicians keep talking about it is because they were there and scared. Nobody else gives a shit. Half of you Democrats were hoping they burned the Capitol building down. You were like, we're almost there. You say, don't even get me started. Some of you Democrats and some of you Republicans out there, you act as if you didn't fucking almost join a punk band back in the day and you were ready to burn the fucking Capitol building down. All right, so I don't want to hear your, back in the day, you used to listen to Rage Against the Machine, Fight the System, blah, blah, blah. Now all of a sudden you're big boy Democrat, let's get the flock cameras up. Well, get the fuck out of here. Maturity's one thing, but changing your values for corporate America without getting something at least, are you out of your mind? And that's what you did. And Republicans are no better, but we knew how Republicans were in the 80s. It was a business world, and it was how it was going to be. And then you liberals, how do I put it? You sold yourselves out. Now you're just like them. So you had the World Trade Organization protests back in the day in the 2000s. You were protesting the billionaires. Remember that? You know, to the WTO. Remember that? Seattle protests. You guys remember that? Yes, they did sell out hard. That's right. So you guys remember back in the day, right? Fight the cis, fight fuck the billionaires. You're sitting there protesting. They're drinking champagne, mocking you. Remember that? You went from those people protesting to fuck the billionaires to maybe we need to get a billionaire elected as long as it's a Democrat. Yeah. Oh, a Democrat's running. He's a billionaire. Let's get him elected. Yeah, at least he's a liberal. Maybe Jeff Bezos wants to run for office, right? Is that what it is? Right? Elon Musk is a Nazi, but not Jeff Bezos, no. No, he's a good, yeah. As you were bitching 15 or 20 years ago about Amazon taking everybody's jobs and ruining the very fabric of America, now you're supporting the same guy because his political ideology is really good for America. How? How? It's true, though. It's true. That's what they do. And I don't want to admit it, man. You have sold yourselves out, and I'm very upset about it. You call people like Bill Maher a Nazi now. You call people like, who was the guy from West Virginia? The senator? Senator Manchin. Oh, he's a right-wing supremacist. Yeah, I've heard all your stupid shit. You out of your mind? You have to come to a conclusion that the right wing is still the right wing and the center is still the center. What's up, James? But the left went this way more without you. So you say, I'm a Democrat, though. They don't view you as a Democrat or a leftist. They view you as a Trump supporter, practically. Why is that? Because you don't want open borders and you don't want trans for Palestine and all this other shit. But you say, well, okay, I definitely don't want that, but I don't want the billionaire Trump shit either. Okay, well, one way or another, even if you say, I'm in the middle of the road, doesn't matter what you say. The left has declared you a white supremacist. So your politics that would be considered purple or even a little left-leaning, the left considers them right-wing totalitarians, and MAGA being the worst of it. So if you have like, I'm trying to think of a politician that fits into this category, but everybody's so polarized now. Man, it'd be a hard sell to find a non-polarized candidate. How about like, what did you think about Thomas Massie? He was conservative but willing to work with liberals. So he's not a good example, but he's on the right side. You don't have a lot of that on the left, except for Joe Manchin, who's now gone. But it's been polarized. And what are you getting? You're getting immobility from that. You're getting an immobile government because of that. I love Argentina. So immobility with government, that means that instead of getting anything done for the people, everybody's sitting with their thumb up their ass. And what's that? That's what they want. That's what they like, and that's what they want, because immobility means easy control. And you're already divided by race and gender and all that other stupid bull crap because you bought into it hook, line, and sinker. Same with the COVID horse shit. Yeah, are you kidding me? Came on a little strong with that one, don't you think? Nevertheless, it's like Jesus God Almighty. It's a brave new world with such people in it. Smoke a joint, honey? So, yeah, but we're not doing a civil war. They're doing financial indentured servitude. What they want is actually technically, I didn't get vaccinated. I've been vaccinated with things, just not with that. Oh yeah, Argentina's great. But you see, I have a respiratory condition. I've had lung surgery. And I've had spontaneous pneumothorax. So when I was younger, from the ages of 14 to 17, I had spontaneous pneumothorax. And then I had a major one where I needed lung surgery. So I have a scar right here where the chest tube went in. So I get pneumonia quite easily. Shingles vaccine. Like that and the pneumonia one, I would be fine with. But it depends on how it comes out at the virus. Now, I don't want to act like an expert for viruses. I went to school for anthropology. I know about the dead more than the living. So I can tell you a lot of stuff when it comes to like the chemistry of the body and all this other stuff. I'm taking supplements to try to heal my body in many cases. I just got a peptide, which it's oral. I'm not injecting myself because I've heard of potential self-vaccination. I don't want to do that. No, that's nice. Yeah, I don't want that. But see, I just didn't trust the one. You got to understand that. I just didn't trust the one. I got all my other vaccinations back in the day. What's up, America? I just didn't trust the one. And I didn't trust it because of the way you did it. Don't get me wrong, I almost got it. My wife basically was like, really? You trust that shit? But I didn't get it because I had respiratory problems. And they said if you had respiratory problems to refrain from it. And I was like, okay, well, that settles that. Ah, very good, Reverend. Very good. I'll tell you what, that's actually not bad. The last time I did that was several years ago. I need to do that again. I need to go on about a 90 to 120 day without it. It does. You start doing math really well. Absolutely. It is absolutely fantastic. I probably would have gotten further in life without weed. Hey, take it easy, Allie. By the way, thank you for that. But let's get into the news. Sorry I went on that rant right there, but we've got a lot to talk about. What's up, America? We've got a potential Saudi Arabian invasion of Yemen, according to Yemeni sources that are saying that the Saudi Arabian military is amassing, ready to go in and invade central Yemen, which if this happens, this will be absolutely fantastic. Now, the Yemeni Houthi have been starving their people for the better part of 2 decades. Hell yeah, Roland, and thank you, Allie. Ronald, God damn it. I love you. So for the better part of 2 decades, if you remember the images out of Yemen of the children that looked like sticks because they hadn't eaten and they starved to death, that's Yemen. The Houthis, oh, I change my flag every time. So this is the flag of the Cherokee Nation. So I'll get to another one tomorrow. And so if Saudi Arabia invades Yemen and the United States assists, I'm perfectly fine with Saudi Arabia taking control because it will be much better for the people of Yemen because the Houthi are just letting them starve. Most of the money that they gain in Yemen is spent on weapons to destroy Israel and the United States. So they'll starve 20,000 people to buy an ICBM to blow up Israel, which 99% of the time it gets shot down. So how fucking stupid. But they're a government led by a religious ideology. Same with Iran, same with what's left of Hezbollah and Hamas. By the way, Donald Trump came out with a plan, and I'll need to talk about this, to disarm, if I can find it, to disarm Hamas, which is, let me see if I can find, yeah. Donald Trump, hey, what's up, Tehran? Donald Trump reveals a historic deal to disarm Hamas in Gaza and a major milestone for Israeli security. Donald Trump's Board of Peace has made a historic deal that promises a complete disarmament of Hamas, part of the 20-point plan to stop the fighting. Excellent. This is absolutely fantastic. This is great. Hamas will be disarmed. The president introduced the Board of Peace as part, which I think is a sham, but whatever. Truth Social Post stated that it called it a monumental step towards peace. If in security, if this happens, I agree. If Donald Trump disarmed Hamas, man, it's not quite yet. It's not quite yet, my friend. The market manipulation weekend is on the way. As you know, it was a Dow loss of about 1,100 points, which to an already overinflated 52,000 market means absolutely nothing at this point. So I remember back in the day when there'd be an 1,100 point loss and you almost shit your pants. Now it's like, oh, it's 1,100 points. Oh, okay, no big deal. And you're like, that would crush companies at some back in the day. Not now. That's like, wow. Anyway, federal government quietly takes 7 new equity stakes in private companies as the United States government wades into socialism. Donald Trump's Department of Commerce quietly announced this week it will designate $870 million in federal incentives for semiconductor manufacturing in exchange for a minority stake in 7 companies. So the United States is now a minority stakeholder in 7 companies. I actually proposed this at one point to get rid of income tax in the United States, have the government invest in major corporations and lower income tax. So if this takes off, this might be a precursor to the removal of income tax, which would be an absolute gem of a win. I don't know. Democrats and Republicans should both be on that. In a blog post on Wednesday, the National Institute of Standards and Technology, not Standards and Practices, that's close, said Commerce's CHIP's research and development office signed letters of intent with 7 companies to provide $874 million in federal funding under the landmark CHIPS and Science Act. The financial awards will be used to conduct research and development on critical technologies and advanced integrated photonics, a microchip technology that uses light instead of electricity to transfer and process data. Absolutely fascinating. We have speed of light data transfer. It will also be used for research and development to copulate architecture and memory from computing and artificial intelligence systems, according to NIST. So did you hear what that just unveiled? That just stated that we have the ability to transfer and process data through light. So do you understand what that does? It takes about a year and a half, Nana. If we can transfer data through light, that means light information transfer is if that's the case, that means we can transfer messages and intent, if you want to call it, over to places like Proxima Centauri, which I would be very interested in doing. If that's the case, I would be saying, okay, we're going to be sending signals to the 2 planets that are orbiting Proxima Centauri and the star system. And we're going to just lay it out. What's up, America? We're here. Come on over. And if they have the technology, or if they even exist, yes. Yeah, I think that's a good idea. Anyway, the financial award will be used to conduct research and development on critical technologies. The department will receive a minority, non-controlling equity stake in each company as a condition for receiving the funds to enhance the return to the U.S. taxpayers. See, investing. This is a pilot program. We need, and I don't care what you say, that's socialism. We need about $2 trillion of this, but not in AI, because AI is not shit. AI is a surveillance system at this point, which they want that, but I don't like it. Up to $300 million will go to Global Foundries, a semiconductor manufacturer, while Kepler, which is developing AI memory and logistic technology, will receive $245 million, and Multibeam Corp will get $140 million for the company's semiconductor equipment manufacturing. So you guys know what that means, right? That means I would be putting money into Global Foundries, Kepler, the AI memory, and Multibeam Core is what I would be doing. Specifically, Global Foundries. So I'm going to look that stock up real quick because you're getting government. Yeah, are you kidding me? Let's see, $49.89 in the futures. Have it all the way up to $5 more for the futures. So, but if you buy it right now, it won't come in until it's at least $1.50 higher. Because they want people like Citadel and shit like that to go first. But that's, anyway. So, so that's looking like an Inky. Yeah, I've heard about that. That's a Sumerian. Isn't that a god of some type? Is it a Sumerian god? Or is it a Babylonian god? Or is it it's one of those fucking, it's been a long time. But anyway, Donald Trump says that Hamas peace deal to disarm them will be put in place. Hopefully they'll get disarmed soon. Fuck Hamas. Anunnaki giant head, sonny. Here you go, baby. Yeah, oh yeah, the Anunnaki. Here you go, baby. The problem is with them is it's the same thing with giant dogs here in the United, what do they call that? Great Danes and stuff, they don't live as long. That's why God made your age, you die at 120, right? And so the larger and more steed-like of a creature that you breed with, the larger you die quicker. So if you had a regular female that lived 610 years and you mated with a 7'4" angel that power jotted into her and had a fucking child, that child would be born with a mix of the 600 years and the size. It would be less in size, but also only live 300 years. And then you would do that over and over again until eventually you would whittle a population down to what it is today. Hence the reason I'm starting to take glutathione and all this other crap. Yes, I have seen under the structures of the pyramids. I have a couple videos up about it here on YouTube. And I need to make more. The updates are slow because Dr. Zahi Hawass does not want to pursue this type of thing. But in my opinion, respectfully, I believe Dr. Zahi Hawass's religion makes it so he cannot fathom or believe a society that exists much greater than or even much older than the Egyptians in the same area. Even though we did find archaeological site of a pre-pyramid tomb on the Nile River that's from approximately 700 or 800 years before the pyramids were built, indicating the same architecture on smaller tombs. So it's looking like the technology to build pyramids were around 700 or so years before the pyramids were built, and they were using it on smaller scale, and then these were giant ones, probably adopted by the pharaohs who had the resources to make this happen, i.e. possessing a slave army. And not a slave army because it wasn't slaves that built the pyramids.
Yeah, it was.
Oh, and the Parthian slaves built America. Slaves, this is our song. Thank you, slaves. Oh, I love you. But yeah, so there were actual workers and stuff that built the pyramids, but it came from a predecessor is what I'm saying. Now, what would lie under the pyramids? Under the pyramids, it could be several things. It could be anchor stones, which might be why they've worn so well. My opinion, it is giant spiral staircases into other chambers with shit in it from older leaders that were dug and covered up on purpose like this. I believe it like this. There was a flat area, or at least it was made that way. They dug down into the earth a very big way. Same in the way that they made the pyramids go up. They had ramps and all this other stuff. They built down as they went up. And they built it in such a way it wouldn't collapse. And yes, it was high up and it was insane. But they built a staircase, in my opinion, that goes down into different chambers. And each of those go to, I don't think it's a power source. I think they go into different chambers of different tombs or different artifacts, if you want to call it that. So maybe two of them are for ancient, like the first ancient king that you don't even know about. It was Neolithic. It maybe even right after the Ice Ages, maybe 9,000 BC. 8,500. See, there's a school of thought, and it's a very rare school of thought, that the outbuildings of the Sphinx are older than the Sphinx. And they believe the date of it was up to 8,000 BC. Now, Hawass and other people say bullshit because it doesn't match up with an Islamic timeline. I firmly believe 8,000 BC is absolutely spot on the nose within 500 years of those outbuildings. I believe the Sphinx complex was about 7 to 6,500, so it's newer than those. And I believe those outbuildings are similar to what you would see underground of the pyramid. So if you know anything about the pyramid, so the Sphinx, there's the Sphinx complex, and then there's these older, large buildings. Now they're ruins. They're blocky. They don't have much shape to them. And I got to find a picture. I don't know what to call them exactly. There's the Sphinx Temple, the Valley Temple of Kafur, the Causeway, and the New Kingdom and Roman editions. Damn it. I need the big, old, blocky-looking, dark buildings near the image, please. Well, we'll see how good AI is, huh? Discovering shit. Because whatever those, there it is right there. So those large, heavy, block-like style constructions next to the Sphinx are the Valley Temple of Kafur and the Sphinx Temple. The dark interiors, the long T-shaped halls. These halls are lined with heavy, polished pillars, until made of red Aswan granite. There it is. Those are said to be built in the Old Kingdom about 2500 BC. But there's some people that believe that there were buildings with that existed near it or before that are much older than that. Now that's disputed, obviously, with people saying that no, there was no buildings like that unless it was about 4000 BC or earlier. And that's about it. So, oldest known Egyptian building, they say, is the Step Pyramid of Djoser, which is 2700 BC. I went to school for anthropology. I disagree that that's the oldest. I believe that there was a proto-Egyptian society that went from it was called pre-Egyptian culture. I can't remember the name of it right now, but there were 3 periods of it. And they dated back from the 3000s, 4000s, all the way to the 5 or 6000s BC. And this society that lived where Luxor is now. I can't remember it's the ultra ancient, pre-ancient Egyptians that lived in the area where Luxor is. That is where there is a lot of missing fucking history, right? This was before Narmer. This was before the Pyramid of Djoser. This is a society that they talk about, but they don't put it in the same category as ancient Egypt, and so therefore it basically doesn't exist, even though, in my opinion, there's huge temples, stonework, fucking religious practices, cultural areas, ports and harbors, the whole 9 yards, the King's period, and even before that. And that is where the building of this shit took place. And I believe that they put the pyramids of Giza on top of those structures, and you can still get into it. Why did they put them into those structures? Why did they put them into the structures? Because I believe that it was basically a tomb on top of a tomb. Now, what's down there? Do you have to dig? Are there paths easily into it? If you have to dig through 800 feet of stone at the bottom of the pyramids to get to it, they're never going to do it. They'll never allow that. Nobody will, even though it should be allowed, they won't. And you say, well, what about going under the pyramids then? They won't do that either because Dr. Hawass will call that sacrilege. What's up, America? So you need to have access to that. But those chambers underneath will either have very ancient tombs or the history of the ancient world of all that is missing that you've never even pre-flood shit that you've never even thought about. Speaking of archaeology, today they unveiled that they found 20,000 more structures in the Amazon rainforest, up to 400 new cities. and at least 20 million more people lived all at the same time within the Amazon rainforest without chopping it down with these huge cities. They use LiDAR technology to find 20,000 structures from an unknown civilization in the Amazon rainforest that lived in there. So El Dorado and all that shit may very well be real. Up to 400, think of this, 400 cities. 400 cities. That's like all of Europe or all of France. As just, we didn't know that was there. So imagine just, oh, we just found France. Like, you know how insane that is? To just stumble across, Portugal? You're like, what the shit? You're like, okay, this is got to be interesting. So let's get a team down there. I would really like to go down there. I'll get some kind of malaria shot if I can. And I would, absolutely, you can't imagine the pitfall. I mean, this is a whole, all of you suck. This is a whole new world, a new horizon, just like Aladdin. Anyway, absolutely fantastic. But I want to check out Under the Pyramid. I think that's absolutely necessary. And what else do we have here? Thousands of people invade Spain through Morocco. National emergency, military deployed. We talked about that. Iran conflict expands into Egypt. I talked about that yesterday. As the Iranians attack American operated floating platforms, a ship, and a gas storage facility in Egypt. Oops. Abortion pill decision. What? Sorry. This is Breitbart. This is weird shit. Okay, so I want to know what you think if you've been following anything about the WNBA. I've been loosely following this, though I don't generally watch basketball. And so there's a woman for the Indiana Fever. I can't remember what her name is. Caitlin something or other. And the black players on other teams seem to be beating the shit out of her while she's playing. And the referees are allowing her to get beaten up because apparently they think she's a racist, even though she's not. So then there's this blonde chick named Sophie Cunningham that apparently everybody on Twitter wants to bang because that's all I fucking see is fucking people on Twitter doing this shit. She's the one that did some pointing thing, talking shit to some other player that now they're using as a meme. So when somebody does something dumb as shit, they're like, and then it's this chick doing it. Anyway, so then she said that trans people or men should be in men's sports, women should be in women's sports. And so then she said, I said what I said, and like doubled down talking shit. So now all the people, the trans community wants to kill this girl. And then they were at a Seattle game where the co-owner, so there were these people that were in the crowd supporting Sophie Cunningham that had banners that said, "We love you, Sophie. Thanks for speaking up for girls." And so the co-owner of the Seattle team was screaming and hollering at those girls, calling them pieces of shit and all this other stuff. And then also got fans and other people involved to attack teenage girls. This was a fucking 65-year-old Karen, hardcore lesbian that hates anything to do with gender shit outside of her purview and went off on these people, threatening them, and then also Sophie Cunningham. Well, now the co-owner of the Seattle team has been suspended by the league. So that this is one of the first times I have ever seen, I mean, this is like Bobby Knight threw a chair at a referee, and that none of that didn't even come close to this. This dumb bitch came out there and started screaming at teenagers. So then you have Sophie Cunningham. Not gonna lie. The Caitlin Miller, Clayton Clark, whatever thing is, that was starting to gain some attention. Like, why are these black people beating up this white bitch so diligently on the court? I mean, this is like Sparta. You know what I'm saying? This isn't like a basketball game. We're coming to see like a 6'4" black chick, like, choke this bitch out, right? While we're playing basketball. And then all of a sudden you have this Sophie Cunningham, this blonde chick that's just like, hey, fuck you, you fucking racist piece of shit. And then she's like kind of conservative. I don't even know if she's conservative. She just talked like, I guess, a normal person would. Or maybe she's doing it to instigate. I don't know what it is. I mean, if you're in the fame and the limelight, do you do stuff to poke people? Do you make a, are you going to be on a Wheaties box? Are you going to have your own shoes coming up? Are you going to be fucking a football player coming up? Is that what it's going to be? Are you the next Taylor Swift? What's up, J.R. Buckle? The king is here. Follow J.R. Buckle. Subscribe to J.R. Buckle. Also subscribe to me. So I have a feeling like Sophie Cunningham and the Caitlin Miller thing. So the racism against white people is going to save the WNBA from what's now perceived as black racists and frothing mouth gender, whatever the fuck that is now. Everything's gender. What I put in my mouth or my orifice is what's most important. Which, if you think about it, that's an odd thing to lead with. Like, that's an odd thing to lead with. Like, I understand. Like, my oldest daughter is trans. Okay? I didn't fight it because I'm not going to do that whole thing where you're going to have, like, a bad relationship for 20 years, where you disassociate and you're estranged from each other, but then you come back at the age of 50 when I get cancer, right? Oh, no, I'm not doing that shit, right? So, like, I was like, well, you're 19. What the fuck can I do? Right? Just don't, I was just like, there's a lot of issues that come with this. Right? So I'm not going to fight it, whatever. But she's also not trying to play on a baseball team. You know what I'm saying? It's like, that's what it is. But, like, look, if you want to, like, why is it what you lead with? What does the world care what you put in your mouth sexually? I mean, that's really what this boils down to, right? I'm this gender and I take this dick or do this with, and it's like, or I give, and it's like, we used to lead with like, my name is John. I'm a botanist. In my spare time, I do this. I like cheeseburgers a lot. I'm a race car driver and a pilot on the side. Oh, here, this is my husband, Bildo Baggins III or whatever. And you're like, okay, so hold on a second. So, like, the 8th thing down is your sexuality. Yes, because I don't lead with that. It's not as important. Like, I'm married. I'm not going to tell the world the name, color, age, sex, eye color, foot length. Do you have a peg leg? You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to be because it's just a weird world. Lead with sexuality. But you see what it's causing is strife. But the strife is basically saving the WNBA. So anyway, here's the story. The WNBA has banned Seattle Storm co-owner Celeste Keaton for 5 home games and fined the team after Keaton was caught cursing at young female Sophie Cunningham fans on Tuesday. The league has taken action against Keaton and the Storm for the co-owner's untoward verbal assault on teenage girls that were in attendance during the Seattle Storm's loss, or Seattle Storm's 105-95 loss. So Indianapolis beat their ass anyway. On Tuesday, the league fined the team and banned Keaton from attending the next 5 home games. The two young fans attending the game to show support for Sophie Cunningham held signs that said, "Thanks, standing up for girls." But it wasn't long before the co-owner walked up to them and began cursing them out for daring to support Sophie Cunningham. "You fascist! You 15-year-old fascists!" Well, we were just sitting there with our signs that said, we love Sophie. Like, thank you, Sophie, for speaking up. The one young girl told journalist Brandy Cruz. And so we were holding them on, just watching the game. Again, we were just super great. We hadn't said anything to anybody else. Super respectful. We were holding our signs and cheering for both teams. And this lady comes up to us. She says, quote, "Yeah, I've never been yelled at like that. I mean, I've had people hate me on the internet, but like, it doesn't really affect me because it's just people online," which should be a lesson to everybody. The teen added that, "But this took me by surprise because I thought she was going to be nice, and then she started screaming and cussing at us." And then here's a video of the two girls talking about it that are sitting there. And then here's this woman that, oh man, she looks like a cat. She looks like a dude I used to work with. She's about a 300-pounder with a shaved white head. She's got the beady little glasses, the potato-looking head, not like I have anything to talk about, but this is worse. Wearing sweats in public, let's be clear. This is a person worth $80 million wearing sweats, okay? In public. There's nothing couth about that. You're representing a team. I understand sports, but for fuck's sakes, let's class it up a little bit. Like I worked at a stadium in Australia. I worked in catering for the Denver, it was not the Denver Broncos, the Brisbane Broncos. It was a rugby team. It still is. And those people were classy. They wore suits and ties. They had they made you want to do it. This is a frumpy fucking, Jesus Christ. I know I need to start doing workouts, but it's been a summer of fucking kids being lazy. But this, did you roll here, Karen? What are we doing? Anyway, so the girls' support of Cunningham came after Fever Star revealed in a long profile published by ESPN that she does not support the idea of allowing men who claim to be women to play in women's sports. Quote, "I got a lot of negative feedback about me hating trans, and I'm like, I never said once that I hated them," she told ESPN. "I think that I'm here to extend love, but I also think with that love is truth, being honest, and I want to protect young girls in the locker room or young girls in sports who shouldn't have to go against biological men," she said. Also, remember the Planet Fitness fiascos where the guy was sitting there and remember the beating off? Remember that in the Planet Fitness? Yeah, that's fun. But it doesn't matter. Because that's just her opinion. I'm very much in the middle. I agree with both sides, disagreeing with things on both sides. And you see, Sophie Cunningham is similar to me, but she gets hate by the left because she dares have an opinion that goes against 100%. So she might be like, I'm for gay marriage. I'm for immigrant rights. I want fucking weed to be legal. But I just think men and women should play in different sports because of a biological difference. You Nazi! And it's like, I wouldn't think that's a Nazi. That's like you're a deranged psychopath for acting like that. And you need medication. You need not just therapy. You're close to commitment, sister. You know what I'm saying? Like if you're out there and because I saw a video of this bitch. And this co-owner's sitting there looking at these teenage girls across the court. They're holding their Sophie Cunningham signs, yay. And she's sitting there. She looks like me. With the white hair, scowling, like a death to you look. Man, I need to do better. If I'm going to make fun of potatoes, I better not look like a potato. Anywho, that being the case, yeah, they're very much in the middle, blah, 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 said the 6'1" guard. The minute the profile was published, Sophie Cunningham immediately became a target of attacks by radical left-wing transgender boosters. This is according to Breitbart. I'm not saying this. For its part, the Storm apologized to the girls on Wednesday and disavowed the actions of the co-owner. The Storm, the Seattle team, said, quote, We are aware one of our co-owners made comments to two fans in attendance at last night's game, said majority owner Jenny Gilder in a statement released to the team. We apologize that this happened. Everyone who attends a Storm game deserves to feel welcome. Yeah, I know. This keeps happening, though, doesn't it? It just keeps happening. Like you can't control your fucking actions. And we remain committed to creating an inclusive environment where every fan is treated out of respect. Cunningham responded to the attacks her fans suffered and said the attack was embarrassing. I truly believe there is a safe space and love for everybody. Biological boys, girls, boys, trans women, and men. Everyone is welcome at my table. You can disagree and still be kind. However, Antifa will still want to kill her, won't they? Bravo to those girls for standing up for what they believe in. You'll be hearing from, hold on, let me check it out, because it's a Twitter post with 7.5 million views. Jesus Christ. You'll be hearing from me soon. Yay for gifts. Okay. Truly embarrassing of the co-owner, unfortunately shows the type of leader she is, which is a politically deranged psychopath. A politically deranged psychopath. That is absolutely correct. And you see, the problem is, and it's the same with your business, putting your politics in your business is terrible idea because it immediately alienates 50% of the people. If you do it right, your customers should never know your politics. Unless they go searching around for what the CEO donates politically, a customer should never know what your politics are, how much money you make, or what your religion is, ever. Those are 3 conversations historically you kept out of a mixed dining room. So if you would be with 20 people, or if you're at a big restaurant or a family Thanksgiving gathering, you don't say, well, doesn't that Obama suck? Because a third of the table is immediately going to be offended by your opening your mouth with that in any capacity. Why? Because, and then they'll sit there and snidely say, well, it's better than the rapist you elected. And then you see how immediately it brings up conflict? That's why you don't talk about it at the dinner table. It's the same with, you don't come out and say, hey there, Chet, how much money you make a year? It's like, are you a fucking cock? What are you, out of your mind? I mean, that is ridiculous. Because you could either, because most people that do that are purposely trying to do that to feel empowered over some other fuckhead. But in that case, you can say, well, I make $2 million a year and I'll crush you with my wallet, and you just lie about it. But these people are insane. And then you also don't ask what religion someone is unless it's in a setting where, hi, I'm in front of a mosque. I see you're wearing the garb of an imam. Might thou be a Muslim? Oh, that I might be. Oh, well, why would you? Because you're in front of a mosque. And the guy's wearing, obviously that's a kosher setting for something like that. But if you're out in public and you're like, you Muslim? Or, hey there, you a Christian? Get the Christian. Right? That's why I don't like people. That's why it's a weird thing to do that in public. But anyway, that's what people do now, and they lead with that. And it's really bizarre. It's considered poor form. It's considered poor form to lead with religion, politics, or I would say now gender. Like what? Hello, my name is Theodore. Oh, hello. I'm a Capricorn. Yes. I'm a printmaker. Oh, fantastic. And I am a trans queer man of color that likes to use genitals this way. Oh, what an odd thing to talk about at the dinner table. Suck me sideways? Well, you don't say. I mean, it's an odd thing to just lead with, I'm saying. That's all I'm saying, and that's all I'll stop with. I just think the world's been too sexualized overall. I guess that's what I'm getting at. So it's not for nothing. Anyway, war expands in the Middle East. We already talked about that. 2/3 of Americans are saying that the war in Iran is not worthwhile. Let me know what you think. Is the war in Iran worthwhile or not? We have European nations boycott the World Cup after they want to get involved with this. This is an odd story. I'll probably put this, if I can find the fucking thing again. What the fuck is... Commerce Department quickly announces... Okay, I want to do that one. No. No. Fucking shit. I love you, honey. All right, so not a big fan. I used to watch soccer in Australia. I haven't for a long time. It seemed like there was a lot of hype behind this one. I put up an Argentinian flag, and everybody's like, where's your Spain flag? I'm like, I don't have one. But yeah, no one was killed. But this is a big thing even for some. Like, I saw this and was like, oh no. So the UEFA nations vote to boycott the World Cup over FIFA bosses' $20 billion cash grab, throwing global soccer into chaos as European nations may no longer be in the World Cup. I have a trans daughter. So suck my ass. I'm married. What the fuck is... Anyway. So European... No, she's not talking to... Oh, okay. Anyway, sorry I didn't read the first comment. This is why I don't read the comments a lot. I do sometimes. 55-member governing body has unanimously voted to boycott the World Cup and other FIFA-organized competitions in protest of a $20 billion Wall Street-style takeover of FIFA. Organization said Thursday. The boycott of the major tournament is the first reported by the Post. Will see European nations withdraw from all FIFA competition. The World Cup cannot be treated as an investment product. It is one of the football's greatest sporting legacies, UEFA said in a public statement. It is built over generations of players, national teams, and supporters across every continent. No part of it should be surrendered to private investors. The World Cup is not for sale. Fantastic and everything, but the World Cup was already embroiled in a basically game-fixing scheme, if I recall, a couple of years ago. Not the World Cup, the FIFA was. And so FIFA's already bought and paid for, ladies and gentlemen. What the fuck are you talking about? Once it gets to a certain point, it's real skill up to a certain point. It's real skill up to a certain point. What's wrong with being a Christian? I'm an anthropologist and a Christian. First of all, I just want everybody to know this. If you don't believe Jesus actually existed as a person, you're practically retarded. So I'm an anthropologist. I have a degree in anthropology. I went to grad school. It is about 96% consensus that Jesus lived as a man in the scholarly categories of thought. So approximately 95% of anthropologists are in agreement that yes, Jesus existed as a person. The very fringe minority of people that believe he didn't exist are what are considered the hardest evidence-rejecting, anti-science, almost flat earthers at this point. Almost, the shroud is an interesting thing. I want to say it's real simply because the pollen that was discovered on it, the blood that was discovered on it. And I think I have a way of explaining how it looks like it's older than what it is. So in the 1500s, the Shroud of Turin had a fire. The shroud was singed and it was carbonized. So what I mean by carbonized is it wasn't carbonized as far as like a body in Pompeii, but there was smoldering black smoke, and the soot got on the shroud, a lot of it. So what happens when you radiocarbon date something that has extra added newer carbon placed on it? So let's say I take this flag that was made in 2024 and you date it now and it says 2024. Excellent. But now let's say I put it through a fire. Let's say I add carbon to it. Let's say I heavily carbonize part of the flag and then you test part of that. What's going to happen? It will tell you that the carbon date of it will be different. Now, will it be newer or older? That's dependent on conditions, dampness, where the original fabric came from. And so what is the carbon dating state? The carbon dating states the 1530s. What is the pollen found on the shroud state? 1st century AD. So this is where I, as remembering my anthropology classes, this is where I would give more weight to the evidence of the pollen from the 1st century over the radiocarbon dating on a heavily carbonized piece of the shroud. Mainly because of the fact that the pollen will keep a finite date even through carbonization, such as that. It just does. And the pollen and the fabric are both from Israel around the time of the 1st century, which would be any time from 0 to 99 AD. So why is radiocarbon dating for me not? I just think that based on the extra evidence, the blood, the pollen, the brambles, the fucking wounding, the way it looks, the fabric creation. And you say, well, somebody could have purchased a 1st century piece of fabric in the 1500s as a relic, blah, blah, blah. And that's a very wild possibility, but do you understand how difficult and how expensive at the time something like that would take? Also, they've done studies that would say that in order to like light impress an image on the fabric, it would take the power of almost something nuclear to do that. I believe, in my opinion, I believe what happened is that Jesus was dead. There was a shroud wrapped around him and a veil. And when he arose from the dead, there was a power that imprinted the image from his body outward. So he's dead, laying in a coffin or laying in a slab in the tomb of Joseph of Arimathea, wrapped up and had a bunch of spices and shit on him, which possibly that pollen that was on the shroud might have been from the pollen they put him from anointing and putting spices on his body so it wouldn't smell like a rotting corpse. That's why they did that. And then when he rose from the dead, there was an emanating power source of a very high kind of power that emanated outward that would have fucking impressed the image on the fabric. That's my opinion on that. Now, why would that be happening? Okay, so first of all, a lot of the arguments are, where is any evidence that Jesus existed? Well, a lot of the evidence comes from extra biblical sources. So evidence that's not biblical. So if you look at, first of all, I'll just say this before I get into this. If you even look at the artifacts that Gandhi left over, there's only like 5 things of a man that even he existed. So think about more time with Jesus. They gambled for his clothes when he was dying, for God's sakes. Anyway, what was I? God damn it, I knew I shouldn't have started with that. Honey, what was I talking about?
Well, you were talking about Jesus being a real person and Gandhi having 5 items.
Before the Gandhi thing.
You're talking about the imprint on the shroud.
There was the imprint on the shroud. Oh, extra biblical sources. Thank you. So if you read the Bible, you have that source, but atheists or whoever will say that's not a source. Okay. So we'll discount the entire Bible. So then you look at Joseph of Arimathea. And Joseph of Arimathea was the rich guy's tomb that Jesus was in. Okay. Well, he was a Jewish scribe or whatever the fuck it was. I can't remember right off the top of my head. And he wrote about Jesus. Now, atheists also discount him because, well, he was too close to Jesus, who didn't exist, right? And so then there's this other many sources of Jesus existing outside of the archaeological records. So there's like the Pilate stone that says like this is the house of Pontius Pilate. They discovered that. There's like an ossuary of someone. One of them's a fake, one of them's real. The king is real, the other one is possibly fake. There's the tombs of the prophets. There's the tunnels of Hezekiah. They've uncovered more money with Jesus's face from the 2nd century just recently. I mean, there's all these things on him, but then you have the main one big source is Josephus. There's Tacitus. Of course, he's a Roman senator, Tacitus. He referred to Jesus being crucified by Pontius Pilate in the existence of early Christian Rome, called Christians a populace. Christus, who it was named, suffered extreme penalty during the reign of Tiberius at the hands of a procurator Pontius Pilate, according to Roman senator Tacitus. So why would a Roman senator talk about that as if it actually occurred, right? So obviously Jesus was a man. So scholars generally consider Tacitus's reference to the execution of Jesus as authentic, as a historical value, as an independent Roman source about Christianity. He said the consistency with Tacitus, Josephus, Emperor Trajan, Pliny the Younger, all focus in that Jesus existed as an actual person. It would be considered nonsense. Marabar Serapon also referenced Jesus. He was a Stoic philosopher from Syria, sometime between 73 AD and the 3rd century. That's quite a gap. He wrote a letter to his son called Serapon, which may contain an early non-Christian reference to the crucifixion of Jesus. The letters refer to the unjust treatment of 3 wise men, stating the murder of Socrates, the burning of Pythagoras, and the execution of the wise king of the Jews, Jesus. The author explains in all 3 cases of the wrongdoing resulted in future punishment of those responsible by God, and that the wise are oppressed not only for their wisdom, truth in the end, but God punishes their oppressors, etc. Then you had Suetonius, Roman historian Suetonius from 120 AD, referenced early Christians and their leaders, referenced Claudius 25 and Nero 16, which describes the lives of Claudius and Nero. Passage refers to abuses by Nero at the punishment of Christians, generally dated to 64 AD. Since Jews constantly made disturbances at the instigation of Christius as he expelled them from Rome, saying that Jews were expelled from Rome because of the stink Christians made. The Talmud, which is I don't like that, 70 to 200 AD, talks about Christians in a very negative light, talking about Christ being destroyed and burning in hell, roasting in urine. Absolutely sickening, but that's also a reference. Then you have Pliny the Younger, talking about the emperor worshiping Christ. You have Celsius, who was hundreds of years later, that referred to Christians in the negative, mocking them as a matter of fact. You have Thalius, who is very little known about. He mentions a crucifixion account. That would be the earliest non-biblical references from Thalius. Now that would come around the earliest time potential of the book of Mark, which would be 57 AD. Now, if you go on Google, it'll tell, or whatever, Wikipedia, it'll tell you that the earliest books of Mark will be about 73 AD, give or take. But the earliest potential piece of text discovered with the book of Mark would be 54 AD. Now that is disputed widely. But also remember that books were very expensive back then, and mainly only the wealthy could afford to have them written. Also, most of the world was illiterate at the time. And so you would have to hire a trained scribe to write for you. Because about 98% chance you were an illiterate primate at the time. So, Phalion of Trellis, 80 to 140 AD, also talks about Christians. Philo, who died at 40 AD, is mainly important for the light it throws on certain models and throughout the phraseology found in some of the apostles. Indeed, preserved the legend of Philo and met Peter in Rome during his mission to the Emperor Caius. Moreover, that in his work on the contemplative life, he describes the life of the Church of Alexandria rather than that of the Essenes and the Therapeutate. Well, but it's hardly probable that Philo had heard enough of Jesus and his followers to give an accurate account of the legend. Then you have Celsius, which I talked about, and then, of course, the Dead Sea Scrolls. Then you have disputed sources, Emperor Trajan, Lucian of Samosata, Epicletus, I can't ever pronounce, Numenius of Apenia, Claudius Galenus, Terullian, Agbar Tiberius, Correspondence, and Parthia, and the James Ossuary, which may not be real. So anyway, you have a lot of that going on with very specific mentions of Jesus and Christians and all this other stuff. So the notion that people think that Jesus didn't actually exist as a man makes them, in my opinion, virtually retarded. When you can just look it up on Wikipedia and it shows so many sources, you'd almost have to have brain damage to think he wasn't actually a real man. That's my opinion on that. Now, whether you believe he's God or not is a totally other story. I believe he's God, but if you don't, you have to at least scientifically be honest about it and say he was a man. And if you can't, then you're a disingenuous turd. Anyway, it's time to get off here. It's been real. It's been fun, but hasn't been real fun. We will be back tomorrow, either here or on TikTok. I'm not sure. I'd like to be here. I like it better. I need more lighting. I think it would help. But anyway, don't forget to follow me on TikTok, Sup America, on TikTok, Sup America History on TikTok. My Sup America page has 135,000 followers. My other one's got 97,000 followers. The one is all my politics and shit. The Sup American History is my archaeology, history, and science page. It's also where my TikTok shop is. I know the other page is bigger, but I didn't want to dirty that one with TikTok shop, so I put it on the smaller one. Although I like archaeology, hire me as a historian. Anyway, follow me there and follow me on YouTube here. Subscribe, Sup America. Hit the red subscribe button. Otherwise, you're a douchebag. I know TikTok or YouTube probably doesn't care anymore. Everything's some AI horseshit curated diarrhea dump. But that's what America's become. And that's why I hate AI for the most part, because it is garbage. So I don't want to embrace it. Analog till I die, bitch. Even though I'm sitting here using a smartphone with AI placing me. Okay, sirrah, sirrah. It is what it is. It's how it is. It's even hard to be genuine. Because if you want ice cream and you don't want it to harm cattle, you're not going to find it. But damn, you want some ice cream. That's why I still eat bacon. I love pigs. They're smart creatures, and I'd like to give them a hug. But you know what? Sometimes bacon is great. Unless you form a relationship with a pig or an animal, then you keep with it, and you don't have to give that up. But anyway, whatever. Anyway, don't forget to subscribe, share, like, hit the notification button. If you don't like me, block me and go fuck yourself, and we will be back tomorrow. Sayonara. Right there.